IVM.
Hi and welcome to Know Your Kanoon. This is Amber from Corpus Legal, and in today's episode, we'll be covering the issue pertaining to traffic laws and how they affect us, and the civic issues faced by the residents of the country while plying on the roads. We'll be dividing the episode into two parts. In case of any queries and questions pertaining to the same, please write into us at contact@corpuslegal.in. Well, the menacing issue as we all face in the country is that, wherever there is power, there is bound to be a little bit of abuse of the same. And same is the situation with the traffic cops. And most of us generally have a query that, we are not aware of what's happening, why we have been stopped, that extra demand of money that happens, how they come and approach us, what do the cops ask for. It all makes us more nervous and all the more reasons scared to venture out on the road, whether we are alone or with family. Well, let's have a look at some of the, the rights and the things that all of us as common citizens have in our hands to prevent ourselves from any such abuse while being on the road against the traffic cops.
Hello Amber, this is Akanksha. How to identify a traffic cop if he stops you at a signal?
Now, for the starters, what we need to see is that all of the traffic police, whether they are on any signal, juncture, etc., are required to carry a challan book or a e-challan machine, which you see nowadays, in order to, penalize you. If a cop or any other such individual is not carrying that, specifically a traffic cop, then they cannot penalize you for the same.
Hey Amber, this is Nayantara. What are the things that need to be done if stopped by a traffic cop?
In case of being stopped by a traffic cop, what do you do in that particular moment? Well, the right to get down from the vehicle is yours, of course, but I don't see that being used anywhere in our daily lives. We tend to get down as soon as we are stopped. And, and we start handing over our documents. But Section 130 of the Motor Vehicle Act says that in case you've been stopped by a traffic cop, which is his right to do so, then in those circumstances, you are required to produce but not hand over the documents which are there with you pertaining to the vehicle to the traffic cops. What I'm trying to say here is that in case, and in most of the cases that happens when we stop the vehicle, the cops say, give me your license or give me your registration. That is to check whether you're not driving without them. In that case, you can show them the same, but you are not required to hand over the same to them. And by handing over, I mean that, you give it into their custody or so forth, so on. You can produce the same to them. Now, that's debatable and that's something arguable, but then again, you should know your rights from the very basic to what it is. And you're required to show the same. So it nowhere says that, you have to give it to his custody or submit the respective document with the cop. Generally, you must know, in case of being a traffic stop being made to you by the cop, you're only required to produce your driving license. You're not required to produce any other such document which is being, you're carrying with you or which is regarding the vehicle, until unless being asked in detail or otherwise where there is a suspicion of you having committed a crime.
Hello Amber, this is Sagar here. My question is, what if the driver or the rider doesn't have a driver's license?
In case you're driving without your registration certificate of the vehicle and your driving license, then the cop also has the right to detain and arrest you for the same, in case you are not carrying the requisite documents with you. So do not argue with them over the same, rather be cooperative on it, and maybe the cop can even let you go if you are sensitive and are quite understanding that you've committed a mistake, then argue. What you must also know is that in case you're driving without license and registration certificate, they can also, apart from arresting you, they can also detain your respective vehicle and keep it in their custody. Interesting is, apart from that, in case you have been detained or your car has been impounded within the violations of the Motor Vehicles Act, then within 24 hours of that you're required to be produced in front of the magistrate. There are certain situations which we face in our daily lives, in case you're sitting within your vehicle, and I've seen that happening a couple of times, that in case you're sitting within your vehicle and you've parked your vehicle somewhere where it is not supposed to be parked, and in those situations, the cop can fine you and maybe ask you to move your vehicle, either of the things. But what he cannot do with you is that he cannot tow your vehicle in case you're sitting within that vehicle. In case that happens, then that's a major issue and you can definitely file a complaint against the same.
Hello Amber, my name is Bhushan. My question to you is, how are we supposed to file a complaint against the traffic cop?
This is in most of the scenarios that it happens that we don't know how to go about filing, the complaint against the individual. In that case, you must always notice that the cop is definitely wearing his buckle or the respective number which is there on the buckle, which is mentioned, along with insignias in place. And in case if that is not there with him, then you can ask for the ID card very politely without arguing. In those situations, you can then write up to the superior authority. In case where the cop refuses to produce an ID or where there's no buckle or other details or insignia which should be with him at that point of time to determine his authority, then you are not required to produce any document at all. You can report the same to the respective seniors of that individual in case if he's a cop. But statutorily speaking, you are not required to succumb to their demands or to their needs as such.
Hi Amber, this is Ashmit. I'd like to know what are the set of offences under the Motor Vehicles Act. When can a traffic cop issue a challan, and what are the details that need to be mentioned while issuing it?
There are certain set of offences which you must always know that are very common under the Motor Vehicles Act, and some of these are very generic ones are jumping a red light, improper and obstructive parking, driving without helmet, overspeeding, smoking in the vehicle, not displaying your number plate, and driving without a license, POC certificate, and so forth, so on. For any of these offences, what you need to realize is that the cop needs to give you a valid receipt. In case the individual is not giving you a valid receipt for the same, and you definitely have committed a crime and he impounds your license, then he cannot do so, and you have the right to object to the same. Your driving license can only be seized in case you have jumped the red light. There has been something where you have overloaded the vehicle, in case of drunken driving, in case you have used mobile phone while driving. And for that, he has to issue a receipt. Apart from that, your driving license cannot be taken away from you. Apart from that, in case a challan has been issued to you, let's say in most of the cases that happens that where a challan is issued to us or a prosecution slip, as you might name, the following or the pauzi, the word being used most commonly. What happens in that scenario? In case that happens where a challan is issued to you, you need to be very particular and conscious of certain details on that challan. It should contain the following headers: the name of the documents, the details of the same that have been retained, name and signature of the officer who has challaned you, name and address of the offender who has committed the crime, the details particularly related to the vehicle, when is the date of the trial, the date when the offense got committed, and also the details of the court where the trial will be held or where the offense will be tried as such. In our next series of episodes pertaining to traffic laws, I would request all our listeners to kindly write in, and we'll be discussing more queries and grievances of our listeners pertaining to traffic violations or violation of their rights while plying on the roads. Thank you for listening to Know Your Kanoon. For more queries and questions, please contact me at contact@corpuslegal.in. Catch Know Your Kanoon every week on the IVM website or the app or anywhere you get your podcast from.
Yeah, it's IVM here, let's go. We the IVM kids on the block over here. Just to talk, taking a break from producing all day. Coming on this podcast cause we got stuff to say. IVM Daily is the name of the show. Monday to Friday, we ready to go. Talking about stuff in our head. We might even talk about our favorite bread. Signing out, it's IVM here, the podcast network that's in your ear.
Catch IVM Daily, Monday to Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Look, up in the internet. It's a meme. No, it's a cat video. No, it's the Geek Fruit Podcast.
That's right. We interrupt this riveting broadcast to tell you about our show, The Geek Fruit Podcast, where Tejas, Dinkar, and I, Jishnu, talk about everything in pop culture, including DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Netflix, and everything in between.
You know how your friends hate it when you ramble about some nerdy crap and you just want somebody to listen to you? Well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about that, but come listen to us ramble and it'll almost be like the real thing. Kind of.
Listen to new episodes of the Geek Fruit Podcast every Monday and the Geek Fruit Bulletin every Thursday on iTunes, Google Podcasts, the IVM app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy listening, you nerds.